The reason young people like you cannot own homes here is because of interest. Because the amount that they lend you, they want to recover more than twice that in the duration of the mortgage that you're going to take for. So you see, this is something Islam completely prohibits.
Interest.
Yes.
Okay.
And most of the world, the capitalistic world that we know, most of the banks, this is their main revenue, interest. So Islam prohibits that. So Islam wants money to be utilized in such a way where you're not holding it and you're not making poor people poorer by giving them a loan and then asking them for twice the amount or even more than that. This is what Islam prohibits. Now forget about everybody else.
But I don't know what.
I'm sure you asked this question to yourself.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
And my answer is always, why does the answer matter?
It does. Because you see, even your bag has a purpose.
Yeah.
Your earrings have a purpose. Your shoes have a purpose.
Yeah.
Do you think you don't have a purpose?
I think I'm put on this world to do the best, to leave it as either the same or better if possible.
Okay, so who decides that? How do you know what you're doing is good or bad? You know, coming back to the moral question.
Yeah.
Who decides what is right, what is wrong, what you consider might be good, what the same good that you have interpreted it as somebody else might say, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
You see, so ultimately,
But even within religion, you have different people saying, well, one thing's good and one thing's bad.
not within the religion itself. Yes, intra-religious, yes, we have. Because obviously different religions, we have.
Even within the religion, there's religious scholars who would debate amongst each other whether this is actually what the book says, is this actually what they said, or is it, remind me what the word is, something that was not directly from Muhammad, it was
Oh, you mean hadith?
yes, thank you.
Yeah, that is directly from Muhammad actually.
So-
Not from, so the Quran is the word of God.
Yeah.
The hadith are the actions
Yeah.
and sayings of the Prophet and his companions.
Man's debating what is
No, but the thing is, you see,
is this a hadith or is this a...
when it comes to things like halal and haram, we have pretty much unanimous agreement. So it's not something that we decide, okay, we find something good and somebody else finds something bad. This is something which we agree upon unanimously within Islam. Yes, if you're talking intra-religious, then sure, it can differ. For example, in Christianity, alcohol is not banned or not prohibited. In Islam, it is. See what I mean? So this is what I'm saying. In order for us to understand the purpose, we have to understand God. So we have to identify who God is before we come to the conclusion as to which morals we should embody and which we shouldn't.
Do you think though, when we've got such turmoil going on in the world and such a pile of like upset and debate and violence, horrific violence, that arguing over alcohol is where our focus should be? Or do you think that's fundamental to getting the rest right? Where do you think that?
Nobody said it's fundamental.
Yeah.
But do you know how many people die from alcohol compared to wars?
Yeah.
How many? Let's give you.
I mean,
Give me a rough idea.
I work in healthcare, so I know lots of people die from
I'll give you this is actually a conservative estimate. Every year, 2.7 million people die from alcohol. How many die from wars every year?
How many die from heart failure?
A fraction of that, right?
Yeah, but how many die
Yeah,
from
again,
heart failure?
look, heart failure again comes down to what you eat, comes down to your lifestyle. You see, these things are important, and that's the reason we have within Islam kind of protection against all of these things which harm you, like yourself, internally and externally as well. So there's rules for oneself as an individual, and there's rules and regulations for you to live within the community. So both are protected, you see, in that case. So for example, in Islam, we are told not to overindulge in the food we eat, and to eat healthy and to eat... yeah, exactly. So answers to these questions can easily be found.
So how does that work in terms of the role of the parent in that?
Again, whether you're a parent or a child, you obey God. And in that obedience, it will show your purpose of your existence. So for example, a parent has certain rights over the child, and the child has certain rights over the parent. For example, in the Quran, Allah says that when your parents reach old age, yes, you should look after them. And it also includes, for example, if I'm a Muslim and my parents are non-Muslim, it is still a duty of mine to be nice to them, to look after them, because that relationship still exists of a parent and child. You see, in the Quran, Allah says, do not even say oof to them. Oof is like the least disrespect you can show to your parent. So do not even do that. And that is how we say. And you say this comes straight after. The respect to parents comes straight after the worship of God. It's like the next step in the same verse. Yeah? So the duty to parents is paramount. And the duty to a mother, it excels that, not excels, it's kind of 3 times more than that of the father. So there was a...
Protection to the mother.
Say again?
There's protection to the mother in terms of looking after them. And
Yes, definitely. So there was a companion who asked, who shall I, to whom is my duty towards? And the Prophet ﷺ, he responds that your mother, and then he asks who's next, and he says your mother, and the third time also he asks, says your mother, and the fourth time he says your father.
Yeah.
So you see the importance of motherhood is very important, because I think most of the sacrifices that's given are usually by the moms, yeah, and we all know that. Like having pregnancy itself for 9 months, that itself is a huge challenge, which men will never understand, yes, and the women who never have children, they will never understand either. It's only the mothers who understand that sacrifice that they had gone through in order to do that. And that's the reason we also say that the Jannah or paradise is under the feet of the mother. So the respect of the parents is paramount. But that doesn't mean that if they say something to you which is contradictory to the obedience of Allah, then you don't have to listen to them in that case. So it's only as long as it's in line with the obedience to Allah, then it's okay. But if it's against that, then that is not permitted.
And does that tie back into what you were saying about the creativity, about...
Say again?
Does that tie back into the...
Sorry, you need to step a bit forward. It won't catch me. Yeah.
Does that tie back into what you were saying about the creator and the idea that you respect your creator has your purpose?
Yeah.
But as a parent, they're also creators, so they're kind of second in line.
Yeah, so just like us, the parent, whether you're a parent or you're not, you're just a child or whatever you are, you're a grandchild, doesn't matter. The roles of everyone is well defined within the Sharia.
What about the concept of billionaires anyway?
Yeah.
If we're saying love thy neighbor, like if not love thy neighbor, sorry, I'm going back to Christianity.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we're saying that you have to look after everyone and that's an act of worship, if you're a billionaire, inevitably you're hoarding wealth that somebody else can't access. What do you think?
That's why we have the zakat. You can hoard whatever you want, but you have to pay that minimum requirement.
Yeah.
So imagine you're a billionaire. 2.5% of that will be millions, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So you don't have the option of holding all the money. You still contribute to the community. Imagine if all the billionaires today pay 2.5% of their wealth. Yes, there won't be poverty in the world, isn't it? So you see, only that, we are talking about like less than 1% of the population. Yeah, only that part did their duty. Second? So you need to come forward. I can't hear you with all this noise.
About morality earlier.
Yeah.
One of my core beliefs is billionaires just shouldn't exist. I don't think that's...
Why is that?
Because I think that I think the purpose of life is looking after each other. And if you're a billionaire, you are hoarding wealth.
What if you're a billionaire helping the community at the same time?
I think that's not some more around. I don't think that...
You haven't seen something like that? There are many examples in the Muslim world where billionaires, they died penniless because they gave up all their wealth to the community.
Yeah.
So they worked hard to attain those billions, but because they were generous, they said that, look, what am I going to do with all this money? When I go to the grave, I'm going to go empty-handed. So instead, what I'm going to do is like give this money to the community who really need it.
So what about their children? Did they not get a massive chunk and had that big kind of...
There's nothing wrong in amassing wealth as long as you give what is your due to the community as well. There's nothing wrong. In Islam doesn't say don't earn X amount of money. You can, as long as it's legal, as long as it's halal, within the limit of the Sharia, and you're paying your zakat, you're doing your due diligence to help the community, then there's nothing wrong in it.
Okay, but let's change money to water. Say 2% of the population had more than 98% of the population with water, and the rest of them...
Did you say water?
Water.
Okay.
And the rest of the world was struggling to get by because you need water to survive. In today's society, you need money to survive.
Yeah, but you can't have monopoly on water, can you? We got the oceans, we got the rivers, We got a lot of water. We got a lot of water bodies. Yeah, rain. You can't monopolize. No, but this hypothetical question is not something that's practical. When we talk about things, we talk about the practical aspect of life. No one can have monopoly on water. Yes, some countries. Second,
There's a finite amount of money in the world.
I don't think there's finite anymore. If you know how the dollar works, it's not finite anymore. They can literally print money when they feel like.
But then if the value decreases,
It does. Value of what? The other currencies. Because they all peg to the dollar.
yeah.
The dollar, they just have to print money. And that's the reason in 1970s when they removed the gold standard, you needed to have X number of gold for the X number of money that is in circulation. That was removed. That was abolished. What they did instead was now just dollar is your main, it's pegged to the dollar. And dollar is just paper basically, which they can print. By the way, that's another story for another time.
That's not happening.
That is happening.
But there is value and there is people with no money and there's people with huge amounts of wealth that they are
Yes,
holding it.
yes, I agree. I agree.
So how, like,
If they are just hoarding money without helping the community, that is wrong. I totally agree.
Elon Musk is a trillionaire now.
Yeah.
How does a trillionaire exist?
But this Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire, that is just basically on paper. It's on computer. If his shares drop, which it did recently, he would lose billions as well in that case. So yeah, I think this is very. It's a whole different ball game, a different. You have to understand how money works, how it's in circulation, how it's pegged to the dollar, and all that. So there's a whole, like I say, underbelly that is corrupt to the core. And until we change that, one thing that Islam doesn't permit or prohibits is interest. Most of the poverty today is because of interest. The reason young people like you cannot own homes here is because of interest. Because the amount that they lend you, they want to recover more than twice that in the duration of the mortgage that you're going to take for. So you see, this is something Islam completely prohibits.
Interest.
Yes. And most of the world, the capitalistic world that we know, most of the banks, this is their main revenue, interest. So Islam prohibits that. So Islam wants money to be utilized in such a way where you're not holding it and you're not making poor people poorer by giving them a loan and then asking them for twice the amount or even more than that. This is what Islam prohibits. So from the beginning, the Islamic finance has always been in such a way that it does not empowerize the poor people who are already poor. So that is a safety net for them as well. Business is not gambling.
But how's it not gambling?
Well, business is gambling. How?
Investing in stocks, how's that not
Do you know how stocks work?
What?
Do you know how the stock market works?
But yeah, you're taking a risk whenever you...
Of course you take a risk. That's why it's halal.
But how is that... stock market's allowed, that's what
Yes. Do you know why it's halal? Because what you're doing is you're saying, okay, if a company has, let's say, 100 shares, and you're buying from that, let's say, 5 shares, then you own 5% of the company. Yes? If the company loses money, and if they, let's say, they go downhill, then you lose money. But if they make a profit, then you make profit. And because of this risk factor, it is halal. But if there was no risk, let's say like you would say that, okay, give me money and I'll give you X percentage next time. Like you fix the percentage. Then there's no risk, is there? Then that is haram because that's in a way it's interest.
What's the difference between that?
I can't hear you. Sorry, you need to come
What's
forward.
the difference between that and
It's-
betting on a football game?
Okay, tell me how business works. Let's say if you were a business owner, how would you do business?
How would I do? Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Let's say you don't have money to start your business. What would you do?
I get a loan
From where?
from a bank.
Okay, what's the alternative to that?
Well, I mean, I guess getting money from someone I know, but as a working class person, that's not an option.
There you go. So you see, Islam gives you that option, that there is an option. For example, you don't need to start a business which is beyond your means. You start a business within your means, and then you grow your business, and then you buy more products, and then you grow a bit more and you buy more products.
Yeah.
That is how Islam, makes things
If
like.
you're going on the, I can't understand how going on the stock market and buying stocks for a company, so you're betting on that company.
It's not betting. You're buying. You're literally buying a percentage of that company. And you're the owner of that percentage. And then if that company makes a loss, you make a loss. If the company makes a profit, you make a profit. That's how it works. This is how trade works. For example, if you were a shopkeeper, let's say you had a very small shop and you wanted to sell something. A product costs £5. You sell it for £7. Is that gambling?
No,
That's how business works, right?
but then
That's your profit. That's the £2. The £2 you're selling it for. The £2 extra you're selling it for. That is your profit margin. But it's not gambling. It's not haram. So how does it? The same thing with the stocks. The stocks go up or down depending on the value
do you think you're potentially
of your company.
paying interest on that product?
You're not paying interest.
If I was
When you're investing in stocks, you're not paying interest.
I mean, like, if I go and buy your hat,
Yeah.
and you bought the hat for £5, and you sell it for £7,
Okay.
and you, what's the difference between interest and that bit that you pay?
No. Interest is where they give you a fixed amount, or they take a fixed amount from you on a regular basis. That is interest. In business, there is no fixed amount. It is based on so many factors. And that is the risk factors which I'm talking about. But interest is fixed. Interest is a fixed amount you're getting on the money that you loaned. So you can't do business with money. You can do business with products. Stocks are products, not money itself.
What's the actual difference between that? Like, I know there's different terms.
Yeah.
But so, like, say, chicken. 2 years ago, I could buy chicken a lot cheaper than I could buy.
Yeah, that's called inflation.
Yeah. So what's the difference between inflation
And
interest? That person
Okay.
is essentially
Yeah.
changing.
I didn't know it was a lesson in economy today. But inflation is basically the value of your money goes down. Yeah. So what you could purchase.
In economics.
Oh, you do? Then you shouldn't be asking me these questions.
But what I'm saying is I can't really see the difference between.
No. Interest, for example, interest is not based on inflation.
Yeah, not high qualification, but I do want to.
Yeah. So, for example, if you go to the bank today,
Yeah.
yes, or if you went to the bank, let's say 10 years ago,
I understand what it is. I don't like philosophically. I'm thinking philosophically.
economy is not philosophy.
The difference.
Economy is all about numbers
There's definitely.
and about the market, about the circumstance of the market, the circumstance of the environment. If there was a war, sometimes you would have high inflation. Yeah, because your supply chain is cut off. Now what? Your water will be more expensive. For example, this I can get for maybe 6 of these for like £2 or £3 in the supermarket. But you see, if there was a war, yes, that will go maybe 10 times more because now there is less supply and more demand. That's economy 101.
I mean, I'm not pro-gambling either. I feel like I'm holding the crossroads of pro-gambling.
It's not gambling, no.
It's just
Business is not gambling.
I need to understand.
Yeah.
And I can't.
You need to do that economy class again.
Economy is, there's a lot of.
It's not gambling. Trust me, lady, it's not gambling. So if there is supply and demand, and let's say you wanted to sell your product at a higher price, but it shouldn't be like completely crazy, like crazy profit margin, which kind of sometimes which becomes a monopoly. Yeah. So when it's monopoly is something that is not again recommended Islam. Yeah. So like I said, profit and loss is part of any business, and that is neither gambling nor interest. You see what I mean? But if you go to a bank, their actual business is to live off the interest that you will be paying if you took a loan from them. So whether you're a business person or a person buying a home on mortgage, both of you would be paying interest to the bank because what are they giving? What is it they're demanding from you? They're demanding a percentage of the money that you are getting from them. So this is kind of a business of money. See what I mean? I wouldn't even call it business. It's basically loaning you money and they're making money off the money. And this is what Islam prohibits, making money off money. Yeah? But if you were in a business, there's a big difference because for you to trade with products is permitted, but not to trade with money itself. And by the way, this doesn't include the foreign exchange. Again, that's again another another whole
So can you buy
topic.
currency?
Say again,
Is that allowed?
what's that?
Is it allowed? Some people not get more, but some people make profit off currency, so they're like buying big currency, they're thinking it's going to go up.
Yeah. So if you own the currency yourself, and the same applies to stocks and shares. For example, there are day traders who don't even have, they don't even own the share, but before that they sell it. It's called futures, I think, something like that. So if you don't own that product, whether it's the foreign currency itself or the product in which you're investing as a shareholder, if you don't own it, then you can't sell it. Simple principle. Once you own it, then yes, you can. Anyway, let's get back to God. Because we have drifted away from the original topic.
I'm actually going to have
Yeah. So I don't know. Have you had a chance to look at Islam? Yeah, you had. Have you read the Quran? Everything okay? Have you ever read the Quran?
I've not read the whole Quran. I definitely look queries and questions through the Quran. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want a free copy of the Quran? Yeah? Okay. Brother, can you get the sister a free copy of the Quran, please? A free copy of the Quran. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we have a pocket size, which is easy for you to carry in your little purse. So it should fit in there. But yeah, I mean, we are here on Sundays. If you got any questions, you're more than welcome to ask us anything. Like I said, we come here on Sundays, especially for this. So people who are not exposed to Islam, we tell them a bit about Islam. And because you see, this is such an important question as to what you will do in this life. Because we Muslims, we believe that this life is a test for us, and the result of that will be known in the afterlife. So I don't know, what is your belief in the afterlife? Have you ever pondered?
Yeah, of course I pondered.
Yeah.
I was raised Christian, but I kind of think the life that you lead is more important than what comes next.
It is important. That's why I said this life is a test, and depending on how you fare in this life, it will determine your next life. Yeah? So, and by the way, the next life is eternal, so that is more important than this life. But it's dependent on this life, of course. So that's why there's a connection between the two. So, I mean, imagine you will have, yeah, thank you, brother. So it's a free copy for you. It's in English. And yeah, do have a read, because there's a lot about the afterlife in there as well. So, the reason it's very important for you to, in this life, to acknowledge the true God and to believe in Him, because like I said, your next life will be determined on that basis. You might take it lightly, you're young now, that, it doesn't really matter to me now. We'll see when we get old. But the thing is, we don't know if we'll get old. And we don't know how old or how young we will be when we breathe our last. Yeah? It's kind of a morbid topic to talk about the afterlife, but it's very important. We can't ignore it either. Yeah, and that's the reason it's quite important.
I think it's really important to talk about that.
It is, yeah. And a lot of people think about it, but then they don't give much notice to it. It's like a kind of a passing comment sometimes here and there. But think deeply about it and do read the Quran, like I said. And then maybe, like I said, if you have more questions, you're more than welcome to ask. But yeah, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. What's your name?
Hannah.
Hannah? And nice meeting you, and hopefully you have a good one. Yeah, take care. May Allah give the sister hidayah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.